Hey everyone, so this is a video lesson that goes with your adding and subtracting decimals notes. I am going to go through all of the problems with you. You should have the notes up or written down or printed out some way, shape, or form that you can write everything I write on this screen, on a piece of paper, on the notes, wherever it may be. So a couple things when we are adding and subtracting decimals that you need to remember. One is when you have a whole number. For example, in number 1, we have a whole number, 528. That is a whole number. In a whole number where your decimal is always at the end of your number. So after that 8, 528, and then your decimal. So for example, if I gave you the number 8 or 542, those are both whole numbers. Your decimal is always at the end. So it would be after the 8 or after the 2, just as examples. Another thing you need to remember when you are adding and subtracting decimals, it is absolutely very important that you line up those decimals at all times. So in question number 1, we have 528, then our decimal. So we already put that out there. And we are adding 7.49. Okay, so we need to line up those decimals. My decimal is after the 7, so that means I need to do the 7 directly under that 8, decimal, and then 49. Okay, so right now it looks a little weird. We have some blank spaces. In those empty spots, we want to put zeros. So there should be a 0 above the 4, a 0 above the 9, a 0 below the 2, and a 0 below the 5. Now every number has something to be added with. When you are adding or subtracting, you always start all the way on the right-hand side, which means we need to start by doing 0 plus 9, which gets us 9. 0 plus 4 is 4. 8 plus 7 is 15, so we drop the 5 and carry the 1. 1 plus 2 is 3. 3 plus 0 is still 3. And then 5 plus 0 is 5. Now, final step. This is not our final answer yet. We have to remember when you are adding or subtracting decimals, you need to drop that decimal straight down for your final answer. So notice all 3 of my decimals in this problem are perfectly lined up. So that means my final answer for this problem would be 535.49 or 535 and 49 hundredths, if you remember our lesson from place value. All right, so now let's look at number 2. This is a subtraction problem. The same rules still apply when it comes to lining up your decimals. So 8 minus 3.4. A lot of us want to just say, oh, 3.4 has 2 digits, so that should go on top. No, no, no. Your first number, so the 8, should be the number that is on top of your subtraction problem. So I'm going to put my 8, and 8 is a whole number, which means my decimal is at the end, so after that 8. Then I'm subtracting 3.4. So remember, you have to line up your decimals, which means that 3 should go right under the 8. I should line up my decimal, and then I put my 4. Notice I have an empty space above the 4, so I need to put a 0. Same with addition as it is with subtraction. You always start all the way on the right-hand side. So that means I need to start with 0 minus 4. There's a problem. If I have 0 coins and I want to take away 4 coins, I don't have any coins to take away. So this is where I need to borrow. So I'm going to borrow from the 8 and make that a 7. When I borrow, that makes this a 10. So now I can subtract 10 minus 4 is 6. 7 minus 3 is 4. Final step is to drop that decimal straight down so they all line up. So my final answer for this subtraction problem should be 4 6/10. Done. Okay, number 3 is a subtraction problem. So we have 3.8 minus 1.26. Remember, your first number goes on top. So 3.8, or 3 8/10. And then you're subtracting 1.26. Our decimals have to line up. So the 1 goes under the 3, and then our decimal. The 2 goes under the 8, and then we have a 6. This leaves us with an empty space, and that is where we will fill it in with a 0. When you're adding or subtracting, you start all the way on the right-hand side, so we need to start by doing 0 minus 6. I can't do that. I need to borrow. I'm going to borrow from my 8 and make it a 7, which turns it into a 10. 10 minus 6 is 4. 7 minus 2 is 5. 3 minus 1 is 2. And then our final step is drop that decimal straight down so they all line up, which gives us a final answer of 2 54/100. All right, number 4 is an addition problem. So we have 5.649 plus 39.26. Still adding and subtracting decimals. We have to line up those decimals perfectly. So in this case, the 39, the 9 goes under the 5 and 3 goes over to the left. And then the 2 goes under the 6 and 7 goes under the 4. So we have a couple spots where we need to fill in zeros. Under the 9, we'll put a 0, and then above the 3, there was another blank space. And now we have numbers to add together. So again, start all the way on the right-hand side. We have 9 plus 0 is 9. 4 plus 7 is 11, so drop the 1, carry the other one. 1 plus 6 is 7. 7 plus 2 is 9. 5 plus 9 is 14, so drop the 4, carry the 1. 1 plus 0 is 1. 1 plus 3 is 4. And then final step is to drop our decimal straight down so it lines up. So our final answer for this problem should be 44 919 hundredths. Okay, number 5 is a subtraction problem again. So remember, first number on top. So 14.55 on top. It is subtraction. We need to line up those decimals. So we are subtracting 2.324. So our first 2 needs to go directly under the 4 so that our decimals line up. 3 goes under that first 5. 2 goes under the second 5, and then the 4 goes off to the right-hand side. We do have a couple blank spaces that we need to fill in. So above that 4, we need to put a 0, and under the 1, we need to put a 0. So now we are ready to do our subtraction. Start all the way on the right-hand side. 0 minus 4, we can't do it, so we need to borrow from that 5, which becomes a 4, and this now becomes a 10. 10 minus 4, we can do it. 10 minus 4 is 6. 4 minus 2 is 2. 5 minus 3 is 2. 4 minus 2 is 2. 1 minus 0 is 1. Last step is to drop our decimal straight down so that they all line up perfectly. So the answer to this subtraction problem should be 12 226 hundredths. Done. All right, last problem. Whoa, we have 3 numbers. It's okay though. We can still do this as long as we remember to line up our decimals. So our first number is the number 12. It is a whole number, which means our decimal is at the end. It's after the 2. we are adding 356 and 4/10. So we want to make sure we line up our decimal, which means our 6 should be under the 2, our 5 is going to be under the 1, and then our 3 will be off to the left, and our 4 will be on the other side of the decimal. And then we're adding a third number, which is 29 and 27/100. So that 9, we need to line up our decimal. 9 should go under the 6, 2 should go under the 5, the 27, so the 2 and the 27 should go under 4, and then the 7 should go off to the right-hand side. We have a bunch of empty spaces that we need to fill with zeros. So after the 12, we need to add 2 zeros. Before the 12, we need to add 1. We need to add a 0 after that 4. And then on the third line, we need to add a 0 before the 2. And now we can add up our numbers. So we have 0 plus 0 plus 7 is 7. 0 plus 4 is 4. 4 plus 2 is 6. 2 plus 6 is 8. 8 plus 9 is 17. So drop the 7, carry the 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. 2 plus 5 is 7. 7 plus 2 is 9. And then 0 plus 3 is 3. 3 plus 0 is just 3. So final step is we drop our decimal straight down so they all line up perfectly. So that makes our final answer for number 6, 397/67. Ta-da! Great job, you have officially completed the lesson for adding and subtracting decimals.